Hi everyone, my name is Blakey and welcome to the European Serato Studio here in Hackney, East London. It's the Pioneer DJM-S11. Now we have a lot to get through in this video, so I'm going to unbox this, show you what's inside, get it connected to Serato DJ Pro and show you what this can do. Let's do it. So this is the brand new DJM-S11 from Pioneer. Now the first thing you'll probably notice about this mixer is it's taller than the S9, but the main difference between this and the S9 is that beautiful 4.3-inch touchscreen display. Now the layout of the S11 is very similar to the S9, which means if you go to a club and you find the S11 there and you're familiar with the S9, you'll have no problem adjusting to it. But inside that screen, there are a ton of new features and I'm going to go over all of them in this video. You can see that the load buttons are larger than the ones on the S9, so in a dark club you'll have no problem finding your way to those, and you can also double tap them for instant doubles. The performance pads are larger and they have less latency, and the S11 also has a new and improved Magvel Fader Pro. So here on the screen you can see we have the waveform for decks 1 and 2. You can also see the entire overview for decks 1 and 2. You can also see which effect is selected here. And you can change the beat value using the left and right buttons right here. You have the effect depth. You can also turn on and off pitch and time DJ or key lock. You can also set the deck to sync here. And if you hold down shift, you can press it to turn sync off. The numbers at the top of the screen here are the current BPM values of the tracks loaded. And in the top left and the top right, you can see the loop value that is currently selected for each deck. So one thing you can do with the S11 that you couldn't do with the S9 is you can use multiple effects at the same time. Now you can actually combine all 6 of the Serato effects along with one of the built-in effects for a total of 7. To do this, all you need to do is hold down all of the effects that you'd like to use. So I'd like to use all 3 of the Serato effects on deck 1. So I just hold those buttons down. And there you go. Something else that's been added with the S11 is what we call gate cue. Now to access gate cue, all you need to do is press the hot cue pad mode twice until it goes red. Then play your track. As you can see on the Serato screen, the track is currently muted. Now with gate cue enabled, every time I press a hot cue performance pad, the track will unmute, and then when I let go of the hot cue, the track will mute again. So this behaves in a similar way to a controller in internal mode, except you can now use it with DVS. Another new feature of the S11 is combo pad mode. Now this allows you to choose 2 performance pad modes and stack them on top of each other. So I'd like to stack my samples on top of my hot cues. So all I need to do, hold down sampler and then press hot cue. And now I have my first 4 samples and my first 4 hot cues. To come out of it, just press one of the pad modes and you're back to your hot cues. You can also stack your rolls on top of your hot cues, or you can stack your hot cues on top of your rolls. Whichever one you press first will be on the top row, and the second button you press will be on the bottom row. A brand new feature exclusive to the S11 is scratch banks. Now scratch banks give you quick access to your favorite scratch samples at the touch of a button in DVS mode. With 2 tracks playing, by holding shift and pressing the sampler button, that puts you into scratch bank mode. So over here on the Serato screen, this brand new icon here is scratch banks. Now you have 4 banks of 8 tracks. And what this allows you to do is load in 8 different pieces of audio or 8 different tracks or 8 different scratch records per bank. So what I've done inside bank A is I've loaded in the same scratch record 8 times, and I've set this one to start at hot cue 1, hot cue 2, hot cue 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So now with my 8 scratch bank samples loaded, what this allows me to do is I can play a song in Serato and I can quickly access all 8 of those samples by holding down Shift and pressing Sampler to get to scratch bank mode.
Yeah, funky fresh.
Now to get back to the song that I was just playing, I just hold down Shift, press a pad, and there I am. So this allows you to have 32 tracks loaded into scratch banks for you to call upon at any time. So when I hold Shift and press Sampler to go into scratch bank mode, you can actually use the left and right parameter buttons to cycle through your 4 banks. So you could build whole routines within scratch banks if you like. Another important thing to note about scratch banks is you can actually get quick access to all of the hot cues that you've set for the track that you've loaded into a scratch bank. To do this, hold Shift, press Sampler to go into scratch bank, load one of the samples that you have loaded in scratch bank, so I've loaded the first one. And now all I need to do is press hot cue, and now I have all of the hot cues that I've set on that track. To get back to the song that was playing before I loaded the scratch bank sample, hold Shift, press Sampler to get back to scratch banks, and then hold Shift and press a pad. And now I'm back to the song that I had in before. Okay, now let's talk about Smooth Echo. Now this is a brand new feature on the S11, and it's this button here, just underneath the sampler volume. Now to adjust the settings for Smooth Echo, press the menu button in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, go to Effects Settings, and then Smooth Echo. So essentially what Smooth Echo is it's a quick access echo that you can assign to be triggered to all of these 6 different functions here. You can combine all 6 or just have 1 or 2 turned on. So right now I'm just going to assign the Smooth Echo to the channel fader. I'd also like the echo to be half a beat, and I'd like the level to be around 75%. So now if I go back to the waveform and turn on Smooth Echo, you can also trigger Smooth Echo via gate cue that I showed you earlier. So to do that, inside the Smooth Echo settings, let's turn on gate cue, and I'm going to change the beat value for this to 1/4, and I'm going to change the level to about 50%. Now let's hit the menu button and go back to the waveform, and you turn on gate cue by double tapping the hot cue button until it goes red. Make sure that Smooth Echo is turned on. Okay, so let's go over the touch effects section of the S11. So if we press the button in the bottom right of the screen to get to the menu, and then we'll head into touch effects. Now touch effects allows you to use your finger on the screen to trigger whichever effect you have selected. Also some filter going up and down. So moving your finger up and down the screen will trigger the filter. The bottom half of the screen will be the low pass filter, and the top half of the screen will be the high pass filter. And then left to right will be the amount of whichever effect you selected. If you head into the settings screen for touch effects, under the selected effects button, you can choose which effect you use. You can also choose the Serato effects to be applied. I'm just going to go with reverb and then go back to the touch effects screen. So now when I move my finger left to right, it will apply reverb, and when I move my finger up and down, it will apply filter. Okay, I'm moving on to probably my favorite feature of the S11, and that is the ability to control 4 decks from just 2 channels using the screen on the S11. Now let me show you what I mean. So if we press the menu button in the bottom right of the screen, you can see it says Deck 3 and Deck 4. You can very easily control Decks 3 and 4 from the screen on the S11. This allows you to do mashups and free up another deck to mix in another track. Okay, so I'm going to do a simple a cappella mashup with the a cappella on this deck, Deck 1 in Serato, and the instrumental on this deck, Deck 2 in Serato. And then, via the deck move function, I can move the instrumental from Deck 2 to Deck 3 in Serato, and they will both play through the first channel of the mixer. And that then frees up this turntable for me to mix in another song. Okay, so now that that mix is locked, I'm going to use the deck move function to move this instrumental to Deck 3 in Serato. So let's head to the menu, and you can see here you have Deck 3 and Deck 4. So I'm going to click on Deck 3, and then by pressing deck move, you will see the instrumental move from Deck 2 in Serato to Deck 3 seamlessly. So now this deck is free for me to mix in another song. But what you can also do, you can press the dual deck button and you'll be able to control decks 1 and 3 inside Serato from this one control record. So with dual deck mode enabled, you can also trigger the hot cues from both tracks at the same time. You also have more options by going to the screen select button. So you have 4 different views on the mixer to help you control the 3rd or the 4th deck in Serato. So you can go to simple mode, and then you have sync, you can trigger a loop, you can trigger the first hot cue, and you can also go into browse to browse through your library. Going back to screen select, you can also go into hot cue screen, and then you can trigger all 8 of your hot cues on that deck. You can also go into mixer view, where you can change the trim, the volume on the channel fader, and you can mute the track. And you can go back into mashup mode, which is where deck move and dual deck lives. Now, for the first time ever with any piece of hardware, dual deck mode opens up the possibility of controlling all 4 decks inside Serato with 2 control records. So that's my take on the brand new Pioneer DJM-S11 mixer. There are so many new features on this mixer never seen before on any other device. I hope this video has got you inspired. This is Blakey signing out from the European Serato Studio in Hackney. Peace.